Okay, so we only have one item on the agenda today, and it is Nick is presenting a 38 Lake Drive demo application. I only told him at the last possible moment that he could share his screen, so he's not promising to be any more technically conversant than the rest of us, but he might take a shot at that at some point. So Nick, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. I'll try to be as clear and concise as I can. This is a pretty, I would call it straightforward application for demolition is ultimately what it is, because the end goal is to take the existing structure down at 38 Lake Drive. Just very briefly, the owners who have owned the property now for maybe about 2 years, so not too long. They purchased it, and their name is Michael and Rebecca Ballora. They purchased it from the prior owner. His name was Hoffman. He had only owned it for a short period of time, 6 or 7 years. Before that period of time, it had been owned by a woman named Vivian Elmsley, who had owned it for a substantial period of time, more than 30, probably nearly 40 years. And prior to that, a gentleman named Gitala, who had purchased it from the now famous, if you do any title work in this area, Walter Wilson, who was the gentleman who subdivided that entire portion of Lake Drive. Okay, so yeah, and that was back in the 50s, 54. So the property itself was originally constructed, or the original structure, current structure, was constructed in 1957 by Gitala, that period in time. Yeah, and the building itself, and this is where I can just flip through a few of the photos, but the building itself is pretty standard for what you'd consider to be the kind of the former tradition of the bowl, which was Cabiny, and for a long time had been truly seasonal. There is at least partial insulation, a portion of this house, as well as heating, which was, I believe, installed by Mrs. Elmsley I think it wasn't until the 90s, but nevertheless, she never stayed there. It was only for, spring and fall purposes. There was a fireplace in it as well. The intent in this case, those are the owners. Since the structure's been erected, those are the owners of the property. That's it. The intent is to demo the house and to build anew. It's a very restrictive lot, just for kind of positive construction or new construction purposes. Everything's existing, non-conforming, not quite as small as some of the lots down on Lake Drive, but it is, the veritable postage stamp. In this case, the existing structure is actually non-conforming on the northern side. The new builder's looking to move the footprint down a little bit and construct a new structure, be approximately 2 stories. Occasionally, I'll put in kind of, the next iteration, but I didn't in this case because it's still a moving target to some degree, exactly what it's going to look like. But I'm not obligated based on what your requirements are to delve too deeply into that. What I'd say at this point is that it does not have, it would not be considered a historic building for purposes of your review based on the ownership history, or, for architectural and or owner historic purposes. So, we certainly think that it does not fall into the category of a structure that would need to be for those purposes retained at this point. So we request that the application be granted as has been submitted. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I can do my best to share the screen. As I said, I have the application that I submitted on a PDF. I also have some JPEG images that I can do my best. I think once the screen shares on, I can sort that, or I'll try if you'd like to see it.
How do people feel? Does anybody want to say anything? Everybody did have the materials, I think, so it's possible everybody's already looked at them and doesn't need to look at them again.
Right. Some of my questions, Nick, It looks like a house that was built in about 1960. I have a house that was built in 1960. These are some of the dead characteristics of a house. Do you know if it's been renovated at any point, or is this the original house?
So it's been renovated, but my understanding is not expanded. When you are, this is, again, the best I know and understand, this is original footprint, original structure. What I am aware of, because in full disclosure, Mrs. Elmsley was very, very, very close family friend of my family, my mother, my family. I've stayed in this house. I know this house very well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Just I canoed and kayaked off of there many, many times. So when you're on the street looking at the entrance to the house, look out on Lake Drive, looking to it, the right-hand portion of the house is where you would find living bedroom spaces.
Right.
So
I actually have it on my screen so I can see it.
So you'll see on the lake side is where the glass is, closest to the lake. There was a bedroom there, and then above on the second story is where the master, if you will, was. Those were renovated at a point in time in the 90s, but there was no expansion. There was like a new floor. It was given a little bit of a facelift because it really was pretty rustic before that. But as far as other work, I believe that's it. It was also in the 90s at one point that the porch, the deck facing the lake was screened in. It used to just be an open deck.
Sure. Okay.
She brought the screening up.
I realize yeah, I got it. Okay. I have a feeling the siding was changed at some point also.
Possible.
They would have probably used like texture 111 or something. Looks like it shakes or something. The reason I'm saying all these things, it makes it less, if stuff had been done to it.
Yeah. So I'm looking also, and they're definitely shakes. I can see some of the other photos. I think some of the ones that you have, you can see, but they're cedar shakes currently painted that brown.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
It does look kind of modern for the 50s, but
okay. I'll tell you right now, Nick, tell him to keep the house. It's very much in keeping with mid-century modern. It's perfect. I hate to tell you, it's a perfect example. That's not what we're here to vote on, but I'm just saying.
I'm gonna let them know.
That I can show you exactly where all the pinpoints are, making it, of that. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. So sorry.
Well, I'm happy to let them know that the foremost architect in Stockbridge recommends.
Thank you very much. But I'm sure that, the slope of the roof, the 4 and 12, the smaller hopper windows on the bottom with the fixed on top, and the front has, Anyway,
it's a neat little house.
Neither here nor there. I'm sure the windows are in bad shape. If they're original, they're probably all wood and rotting and things like that. So.
Yeah. So, theoretically, we can, under the bylaw, find a house to be significant if it's architecturally significant. But I'm not hearing you saying that this quite rises to that standard. Are you, Pam?
I don't think so. It's an example of it, but I wouldn't say that it is, architectural record or something, like that. But it does have the roofs are very interesting in terms of the slopes and things like that. So, but no, I can't say it's an example that needs to be saved. So,
does anybody else have questions for Nick? As the historical commission member on the panel, I did double check what Nick had already checked, and there is no record in any of the Mass Historic or Town Historic relating to this house. And as Nick noted, nobody famous has lived in it as far as I know, except for Nick. Now we hear. So I would make a motion that this is not a significant historic building as defined in the bylaw. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, indicate in some fashion that you're in favor. Raise your hand. And is anybody opposed? And so, by the way, it looks like Carl could hear us throughout this meeting and voted in favor, even though we couldn't hear him. But he said no when I asked if anybody had any questions. So
No, he's frozen now with his hand up.
oh, no, he's moving again. Good. All right. So the motion is granted. Nick, I'll send you our standard memo. I'll CC you on a memo to the building inspector. And let's see, Carl is raising his hand. Pam had to go, I think. But I guess Carl was maybe saying yes. I will note that I'll probably be reaching back out to you all fairly soon about another meeting. Carl has been in touch with Hans Morris, and it's kind of an interesting application. So a little bit down the road, we'll be reaching out about a new meeting and sending you some materials relating to that. So thank you, everybody. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up?
We can't approve the minutes.
Oh, thank you very much, Pam.
But we can't. We only have 4 of us. Can we?
Right. Yeah, 4 is a quorum.
Okay.
So yes, so I would move that we approve the minutes of the most recent meeting, which I think was on March 7, which I circulated earlier. So thank you very much, Georgia. Do I have a second to approve the minutes?
Second.
Yep. And all in favor? And Carl's in favor, so we are good. Thank you for that, Georgia. Anybody else got anything? Great. All right. Well, then I move we adjourn.
So moved.
And everybody in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. And so we are adjourned. Thank you for